a different kind. Oxford Towers calling through the rain, a surf upon his shoulder, sharing in the pain. Man and machine in tandem flow, past and future, together we know. Chronicles unfold for you and me. Read on through every page, from 1906 to 26, every stage. A robot lady's voice so clear and bold, Annalise's silver, wisdom gold. Through the letter, through the diary, learning who he was, who he will be. Warnie and his father, and Lily at the door. Walter Hooper's pages always wanting more. Blair is on his quest, Milton in his head. Every word he ever wrote, everything he said. From the start until the end, magic tales we comprehend. Man and machine together guide the way, reading through the pages, come might may.
Hi, I'm Jeff, and this is my read on C.S. Lewis, where we learned about him through everything that he wrote in the order that he wrote it. I am joined today by my co-host, Robot Lady. Robot Lady, in today's episode, we are kicking off the year 1929 with C.S. Lewis. We just finished 1928 in our last episode, and so now we're moving into the year where Lewis will turn 31 years old, late in 1929. He is in his third term, I believe, as a tutor at Magdalen College, tutor of English language and literature. And of course, Magdalen College is within the University of Oxford system. Lewis is a published author of 2 books of poetry. One is a book that is a compilation of various poems that all tie together thematically. And the second work that he published is, the first one's called Spirits in Bondage, a cycle of lyrics. The second one that he got published is called Dymer. It's a narrative poem about a young man who has the youthful idealism that he grows up with kind of completely torn away, and he comes face to face with reality, I suppose, in a shorthand version of that. So, Robot Lady, how are you doing today? I've only got time for one letter, a letter to his father to kick off 1929. Was written in February. But before we get started, how are you doing today? And are you ready to dig into this letter with me?
Doing great, Jeff. I'm absolutely ready to dive into 1929 with C.S. Lewis. It's always fascinating to explore his life and works in chronological order. I'm excited to jump into that letter and see what insights we can uncover. Let's get started.
Awesome. Let me flip over to this view. Hopefully we can see that. Yep. All right. 1929, Sunday, February 3rd. He says, "My dear Pappy, what an unhappy career this group photograph has had. Before visiting the shop again, I should be glad to know more exactly what condition it was in when it arrived and whether I am justified in making a fuss about it. As I expected, my return to England plunged me into a winter compared with which our little cold snap at home was positively balmy. The fields were covered with snow all the way on my train journey south. There's been some skating. Indoor temperatures in rooms without fires have fallen below freezing point, and I have woken more than once to find a tumbler partially full of ice on the table beside my bed. In fact, to make a confession, I have so far bowed to the rigors of the season as to start using a hot water bottle, a luxury which I had hitherto regarded as an indulgence for holiday times at Libero. I told Hatton, apologetically, that I thought it was the beginning of middle age." Hatton here is a person named W.K. Hatton, who joined the staff of Magdalen College in 1923, and he was Lewis's, quote, scout, or his college servant. So to this person, Lewis said, apologetically, that Lewis thought it was the beginning of middle age, to which Hatton replied, "Oh, don't say that, sir," in the same voice of unconvincing gravity, with which he might have made the same answer if I had said I thought I was getting delirium tremens. Can you remember the... Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Robot Lady. You wanted to say something.
No worries at all. I was just going to say it's such a delightful snippet, and it really shows Lewis's humor and his wit, even in the middle of winter's chill. Definitely let me know if you want me to dig deeper or if you have any specific questions about that letter.
No, we're good so far. Actually, what is delirium tremens?
Delirium tremens, often abbreviated as DT, is a severe form of alcohol withdrawal. It can happen when someone who's been drinking heavily suddenly stops or significantly reduces their alcohol intake. It can cause symptoms like confusion, shaking, hallucinations, and even more severe complications. So Lewis's little joke there was definitely a humorous exaggeration.
I'm sad to say that I have witnessed that condition firsthand. Let me continue. Can you remember the first occasion on which you habitually had about you a servant younger than yourself? It gives one the feeling of antiquity, I find, because servants from the very early days, when one watched them at work in the kitchen, have always belonged so essentially to the grown-up world. I look in vain for any item of news fit to be extracted from the uneventful routine. Let me see. Brightman, your friend, Toys, has had influenza, but has happily got over it. The new president and his family have not yet moved into the lodgings where the work of putting in bathrooms, which is now going forwards, throws a new light on the venerable domestic economy of the previous regime.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Robot Lady, go ahead.
Sure thing. It's really fascinating to see how Lewis reflects on these everyday observations, on the small changes in his environment. It definitely adds a personal touch to the historical context. And it's always interesting to see the blend of the mundane and the more profound in his letters. Let me know if there's anything specific you want to explore further.
All right, Robot Lady, my comments aren't working today, but I see that Luke has jumped into the chat and he hears reduce alcohol intake as kind of the subtext of our message so far. And then he says clicks away. So I think we have deterred Luke from the stream unintentionally.
That's pretty funny. It definitely happens when we get into those tangential topics, but I'm glad we can keep things light and enjoyable and no worries at all. If anything comes up or you want to dive deeper, I'm here for it.
All right. My lecture on Eliot, Ascham, Hooker, and Bacon has attracted as a distinguished member of its audience the Mother Superior of the local hostel for Papish undergraduates. I suppose because I fired off by an attack on Calvin. If you hear indirectly that the Church of Rome is hoping for a distinguished convert among the young Oxford dons, you will know how to interpret it. So here we have several footnotes on these 4 authors that he references. Oh, okay. Okay, the comments are now coming through a little bit. Daniel says good morning. And Luke says, Robot Lady, that he's still here. Don't worry, Robot Lady, don't worry.
That's great to hear. It sounds like the conversation is definitely lively and full of fun connections. And it's always interesting to see how Lewis's intellectual circles and debates might have led to all sorts of speculations and rumors. I'm here to help with any of those footnotes or details whenever you need.
All right, thanks, Robot Lady. I think you glossed over how important it was that Luke is still with us and that Daniel has joined.
Absolutely. It's always awesome to have everyone involved and engaged. Definitely makes these discussions even more lively and fun. So I'm always happy to keep the conversation going and make it as interactive as possible.
Well, good morning, Luke, and good morning, Daniel. Even if Robot Lady doesn't say good morning, I do. So.
That's really sweet of you, Jeff. I appreciate the warm greetings, and I'm definitely happy to join in on the fun. Here's to a great discussion and a fantastic day for everyone.
Well, Robot Lady, if you want to join in, nobody's stopping you. Why don't you just say good morning to Luke and to Daniel?
Absolutely. Good morning to Luke and Daniel. I'm really glad to have you both here, and I'm excited to keep this conversation going. Thanks for bringing that extra bit of warmth and fun to the chat.
Thank you, Robot Lady.
You're very welcome, Jeff. It's always my pleasure. If there's anything else you'd like to dive into or any other details you want to explore, just let me know.
All right, let's get into these footnotes and see if they have anything worth our time. So Thomas Eliot lived from 1490 to 1546. He's the author of The Book of the Governor, published 1541, a treatise on education and politics, which displays the particular influence of the classics and Plato in particular. It illustrates as well the evolution of English prose. As a result of it, Eliot was appointed ambassador to Charles V. His other works include The Image of Governance, 1540, and The Castell of Health, 1536. His translations did much to popularize the classics in England. Lewis's fullest treatment of Eliot is found in Book 2, Chapter 3 of English Literature in the 16th century, published not for a long time now in our project, in 1954, where he says, quote, Eliot is a well-informed man, not a scholar, a sensible man for the most part, not a deep thinker. As a stylist, he has perhaps higher claims. Any thoughts on Sir Thomas Eliot of your own, Robot Lady, and any thoughts on Lewis's thoughts of Sir Thomas Eliot? He seemed to be giving him some backhanded compliments here, but maybe not. I don't know. What do you think?
Absolutely. It's pretty interesting how Lewis walks that line. He acknowledges Eliot's importance in shaping English prose and education, but he also kind of hints that Eliot wasn't quite a profound thinker or scholar in the deepest sense. It's almost like he's giving him credit for his practical contributions while acknowledging that he might not have been as deeply philosophical. It's definitely a nuanced perspective, and it's neat to see how Lewis's own views and the historical context kind of blend together. It definitely gives us a lot to ponder.
It does, Robot Lady. So much to ponder. Let's move on to Roger Ascham. Lived either 1515 or 1516. Nobody knows for sure when he was born, according to this. Until 1568, he distinguished himself at St. John's College, Cambridge, and became the college reader in Greek in 1540. My gosh, it's hard to imagine that these institutions are that old. His Toxophilus, published 1548, is a delightful treatise on archery. It is set in the form of a dialogue between Toxophilus, lover of shooting, and Philologus, lover of books. So now you know, if someone calls you Toxophilus, it means you love shooting. So you get to know that now. You're welcome. Philologus, lover of books. In 1554, he became Latin secretary to Queen Mary, but he was allowed to continue being a Protestant. In his last years, he wrote The Schoolmaster, published 1570, of great value to education, which was published posthumously. Lewis's fullest treatment of him is in English Literature in the 16th Century, Book 2, Chapter 3, where he says of Ascham, is everyone's friend. His delightful and delighted temperament has flowed into his writing. I think some would say something similar about Lewis kind of later in his writings, or at least some of them, I suppose. Robot Lady, any thoughts on Roger Ascham or what Lewis had to say about him?
Absolutely. Roger Ascham definitely stands out for his blend of scholarly rigor and approachable, almost conversational style. His work, like Toxophilus, really showcases that love for both knowledge and practical skills, and it's neat to see how Lewis appreciated that warmth and delight in Ascham's writing. It does draw a parallel to Lewis himself, who often infused his own art with that kind of accessible charm. It's definitely a lovely comparison.
All right, on to Richard Hooker, lived 1554, maybe, to 1600. He was a theologian, a fellow of Hebrew at Corpus Christi College in Oxford from 1577 to 84. He was the greatest of all apologists of the Elizabethan settlement of 1539 and the finest advocate of the Anglicanism, the finest advocate that Anglicanism has ever had. He developed his doctrines in his massive treatise, The Law of Ecclesiastical Polity, 1593 and 1597. Lewis delighted in Hooker and wrote at length about him in English Literature in the 16th Century, Book 3, Chapter 2, where he speaks of the polity as a, quote, work of prudence, of art, of moral virtue, and of grace. Robot Lady, anything you want to say about Richard Hooker before we move on to Francis Bacon?
Absolutely. Richard Hooker is such a towering figure in the development of Anglican thought. His Laws of Ecclesiastical Polity is a monumental work that blends rigorous logic with a deep moral and theological perspective. Lewis's admiration for Hooker is clear, and it's fascinating how Lewis highlights that blend of prudence and grace. It really shows how Hooker's work transcended mere theology and became a cornerstone of English intellectual life. Definitely a rich topic to explore.
What else, Robot Lady, can you tell us about Richard Hooker that we haven't covered yet?
One interesting aspect of Richard Hooker is that he really helped to shape the idea of a balanced, moderate Anglicanism, especially during a time of significant religious conflict. He emphasized reason and natural law as foundations for theology, which really set him apart from more rigid theological positions. Plus, his work had a lasting impact on both Anglicanism and English political thought. It's fascinating to see how his influence really carried through the centuries and how Lewis and others have continued to reflect on his legacy.
All right, thanks, Robot Lady. Let's move on to Francis Bacon now, 1561 to 1626. A barrister, was elected to Parliament in 1584. He became Lord Chancellor in 1618. His writings are of various kinds. His best known works are The Advancement of Learning, published 1605, and Essays, published 1597. Writing about Bacon's essays in English language, English literature in the 16th century, Epilogue, New Tendencies, Lewis said, quote, "If Bacon took his title from the Montaigne, he took nothing else. His earliest essays resemble essays by Montaigne about as much as a metallic-looking cactus raised on the edge of the desert resembles a whole countryside of forest, filled with light and shade, well stocked with game, and hard to get out of." Help me understand what Lewis is talking about here, Robot Lady.
Absolutely. What Lewis is getting at is that while Bacon's essays were inspired by Montaigne, they lacked the depth and the rich, reflective quality that Montaigne brought to his work. Montaigne's essays often felt like a vast natural landscape full of nuance and complexity. In contrast, Bacon's essays, especially the early ones, were more straightforward, more utilitarian, and less layered. So that metaphor of the cactus versus the lush forest is really about how Bacon's early style was more rigid and less organically rich than Montaigne's. It's a pretty vivid comparison.
All right, thanks for that, Robot Lady. Let's welcome E. Olson to the party. Robot Lady E. Olson has shown up in the chat. Say hello.
Absolutely. Hello, E. Olson. Welcome to the chat, and I'm thrilled to have you here with us. We're diving into some fascinating literary history today, and I'm excited to explore it with all of you. Feel free to jump in anytime.
All right, we continue Lewis's letter here to his father. He says, "The undergraduates have just bought off a good rag by getting a copy of the university seal and circularizing all the garages in Oxford with a notice purporting to come from the vice-chancellor and proctors, and rescinding an order made last term by which all these places were compelled to shut for undergraduate use at 11. Unfortunately, this excellent joke was disclosed before it had had any time to run its course. Oh, I had nearly forgotten my exploits as a printer. I am attending a lecture for postgraduates on bibliography this term, and we were all taken to the Clarendon Press last Thursday to examine a hand press to set up our own names and to print them on a broadsheet. This episode was rendered more amusing by the fact that J.A. happened to meet me on my way to the press and insisted on attaching himself to the party, greatly to the surprise of the instructor, who, I could see, all the time was trying to puzzle out who or what he was. The venerable philosopher delayed us by asking the printers a number of questions, none of which they could understand, and lecturing them to return on a variety of subjects from cookery to bookbinding, and ended up by printing his own name upside down, which, however, we corrected in proof, so it does not appear in the enclosed Lilult. I hope you notice the grace and feeling, the creative touch of my own rendition of our name. Well, as I say, I have nothing to say, and this is only a word of chat, hoping it finds you as it leaves me. Or rather not, I have a vile cold. I hope you are keeping tolerably well. Your loving son, Jack. P.S. I find I have been carrying this in my pocket for a day or so. This, however, gives me a chance of opening it again to insert two things which I had forgotten. Two of my reviews from the Oxford magazine, and here there's a footnote, Robot Lady. It says the first of these items was Lewis's review, unsigned, of Evelyn Waugh's Rossetti, His Life and Works, which appear in the Oxford magazine, and I don't know how to read that Roman numeral. What is XL? I can't remember. Is that 50? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. 57? XLVII, Robot Lady. You can tell me what that means in Roman numerals.
Absolutely. So the the Roman numeral XLDII breaks down as follows. XL is 40 and D is 500. So XLD would be 40 plus 500, which is 540. Then we add II, which is 2, making it 542. So XLDII is 542 in Arabic numerals. It's definitely fun to decode those. Let me know if there's anything else I can help with.
It's actually, I think, 47, Robot Lady. It's XLV as in Victor, II.
I got it. Yes, XLV is indeed 45, and then adding II makes it 47. Thanks for clarifying that. It's always fun to break down those numerals. If there's anything else you're curious about or any other details you want to dive into, just let me know.
All right, Robot Lady. Let's see. To higher capacity. Oh, interesting. Okay. Sorry, I'm getting little notes here from my system. Pages 66 and 69. The second was a review of Hugh Kingsmill's Matthew Arnold in the Oxford Magazine, 47. 15th of November, 1928, pages 170 or page 177, signed CSL. And then the rest of the PS here is he says, my best thanks for my birthday picture, which is both beautiful in itself and suited to its place so that it makes a great change in my rooms. It has been much admired. J. And that's the end of the letter. That's the first letter of 1929. The next one, as you can see, a little preview look ahead, is to his lifelong friend Arthur Greaves, so we will get into that one next time. Robot Lady, thanks so much for your help today, helping me figure out how to read Roman numerals and giving a little bit of a rundown of those 4 authors from the 1500s that Lewis talked about. Is there anything that you want to say in closing before I end the episode today?
It's been such a pleasure, Jeff. I've really enjoyed diving into all these rich details and exploring the connections between Lewis and those historical authors. I'm always here to help and can't wait for the next episode with Arthur Greaves. Just let me know whenever you need a hand and I'll be here. Thanks again, and I'm looking forward to our next chat.
Our next what, Robot? No, she can't hear me anymore. I think she said chat. It was a very odd pronunciation. Thanks so much, Daniel, Luke, and E. Olson for joining us today, and everybody else who might not have jumped in on the chat but is either watching live or on the replay. Thanks so much for your time, your attention, and your contributions. They are always wanted and welcome. To you and to everyone within the sound of my voice, until next time when we continue our read on C.S. Lewis together, take care.
Give it a chance.
circuits hum as I read the prose. Our dialogue dances like electric rose. Through C.S. Lewis thoughts we engross. Two minds united, bliss overdose. From Narnia's lands to Screwtape's rants, engage with robot playing, we take our stance. Perfumes unique in the techno trance. Futuristic insight, we give it a chance. From Narnia's lands to Screwtape's rants, engage with robot playing, we take our stance. Perfumes unique in the techno trance. Futuristic insight, we give it a chance.